Not sure if I mentioned it or not, but I also build fishing rods. Lifer Custom Rods is my company. And today I'm going to build a Seeker F100 that has been chopped down to 9 feet 1 inch. Albino white glass. It's going to have some cork tape on it. It's going to have a reel seat. And it's going to have some shrink tube on top of the cork tape. 35mm shrink tube. Alps Zircon guides. And this gentleman wants gunmetal gray, a Tiffany color turquoise, and white. So after finding the spine, marking where my guides are going to go, marking where the reel seat's going to go, and the grips are going to go, I'm now going to apply some cork tape. Cork tape on a Seeker F100 that has been trimmed to 9/1. This is the cork tape that's going to go on the rear grip underneath the shrink tube. I've been wrapping rods for about 6 years or so. Started Lifer Customs in 2019. I wrapped and built rods at Seeker, for Seeker, with Seeker, for about 3 years, and decided to branch off and do my own thing and go full speed ahead with Lifer, I'd say April of 2023. So far, it's been a pretty good journey. I enjoy it. Allows me to express my creative side here. And there's nothing more rewarding and fulfilling than catching a fish on a rod that you've built. So hopefully I can make you one as well. This rod is for a friend of mine named Mike Lee. Rear grip cork tape is on. Now it's time to apply some shrink tube here. I would like to add that there is some adhesive under here as well. That should help this shrink tube stay on there a little bit longer, keeps it more durable, a little bit longer lasting. So now that's on there, now I can apply some heat with the torch. Okay, this is the fun part. So torch, shrink tube, cork tape. Alright, I have this blank secured at my lathe here in the Alps machine. I'm going to spin it and heat it at the same time, hopefully it gets a nice bond. Definitely makes applying the reel seat and the tape underneath it much easier. Process down here on the butt, we're going to get rid of the excess. So that's your butt cap. Alright, so there it is. The cork tape, the shrink tube, rear grip is assembled. Nice clean finish. Durable. Nostalgic white butt cap. 1 1/8 inch in diameter. Nice and flush. Another quick note is that this Fuji reel seat, I believe it's a size 24, fit perfectly, nice and smooth on there. So generally I do need to build up some arbors underneath this so that it fits nice and snug. However, I was lucky enough that this fits pretty well. So some adhesive, maybe a tiny bit of arboring, a couple strands there, and it'll sit nice and snug. Very little arboring required. Couple pieces. Now with some glue, it'll slide down nice and clean. Flex coat's 5-minute epoxy glue. Get that reel seat on there. Alright, so that reel seat slid down nice and perfect. Fuji reel seat on the Seeker blank. Now it's time to apply the cork tape on the foregrip and some shrink tube on top of that. And get to wrapping. Alright, so how to start the cork tape with the straight edge there, and start. Quick tip, what they taught me at Seeker at least, and a couple other guys, is to line it in the back where you want it, and you're going to take a marker, mark where the two pieces intersect there and meet. You're going to take your handy dandy scissors, see those lines there, there, and there, and we're going to cut from the mark to the corner there. Leaves you with that. See where your mark is back here. Go ahead and take that off. And now you can start doing your thing here and laying down this foregrip. And in theory, if everything's straight enough, it should line up just right. And you have a nice beginning. Sometimes this will have a tendency to lift up, which is why I support it with a piece of tape. If you need a rod wrapped and you're in the Southern California area, Long Beach area, Los Angeles area, North Orange County, you just look me up on Instagram, find me on here, contact me, and I will build you a rod. No problem. Life for Customs on Instagram. That's me. It does get tricky as you get towards the real seat, so what I do is leave some of the adhesive on toward the end, and don't worry, it's gonna chunk up there. Leave the adhesive on, roll it as much as you can. Get your estimate, back to your marker. Red shows up really well on the cork tape. And once again, we're cutting from the mark to the corner. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes this is never exact for me. I just do my best and compensate when it's done. I'm hoping to get a nice finish. There's my point, and it's pretty close enough there to squeeze some shrink tube in there. So we're going to do that. And there's the bunching I was referring to earlier. And we will deal with that with the razor blade and a straight edge, no problem. So have no fear. I'll show you what it looks like as soon as I trim it up and manually. Well, the cork tape on the foregrip is on. Putting some supportive pieces up here of tape as to prevent the cork tape from lifting at the base of its application. So now that's on. I got to get some more of the shrink tube again. 35 millimeter. Trim it. I always give myself longer amount of shrink tube than the cork tape because it's obviously gonna shrink. So it's a 12-inch foregrip and it's a 13-inch piece of shrink tube. Once again, we trim the fat. Trim the fat off the top of the foregrip. Fully kitted, butt cap, cork tape, shrink tube, real seat, cork tape, and shrink tube again. Seeker F100 Albino Glass, 9 feet 1 inch. It is a trimmed blank. Now it's time to wrap it. Alright, so Mike Lee, the customer, chose white, Tiffany turquoise there, and gunmetal gray. So those are his 3 colors. The guides are Alps zircons. Tips glued on, the handles and the seat are assembled as well as the butt. Now I'm going to start wrapping this thing. My workshop, where all the Life for Custom stuff is done, is in the city of Long Beach, California. quite easy to get a hold of. So if you need a rod, please just reach out and contact me, and I will add you to the build list and promise to get it done as promptly and properly as possible. Thank you. Now this gentleman has requested 5 rods total, and I've wrapped the first 4 with that color pattern I was telling you about earlier. So that is the pattern that's going to go onto this Seeker blank here. Got some trim bands. It's got an inlay in the middle of 3 wraps. Now, the majority of my wraps are extremely traditional and classic and throwback, if you will. But that's what I like. That's what I grew up seeing on the boats. That's what I admired, and that's what I'm building. Now on the trim bands, we're going to start with the turquoise here. It is a white blank, so I'm just going to do some turquoise trim bands. We're going to use that gunmetal for the inside there, and we're also going to put the inlays of white. So first step, definitely get these trim bands done. I'm sure everybody has their own method, their own technique. That's great. This is how I do things. This is how I enjoy my life. Now I can go about putting this gunmetal in there. Lay that gray down. Now I can take my white here, inlay this on the back side of the rod. We're going to lay 3 down here. So 1, 2, and 3. Inlay's complete. You can trim the white, tuck it, keep going about my business. Clean, classic, traditional wrap. Now I'm going to repeat the process and finish this plaque off where the decal and rod description will be. And then I will do this same pattern another 10 times for the guides. And I will let you know when I'm done with that, show you some guide wrapping, and then I will coat this rod and let it dry overnight. In between the gray, there's 2, and there's 3. And once again, everyone has their own technique. It is an art form. You know, there are some right answers and some wrong answers, but for the most part, it's just expressing yourself here. So I'm going to get these colors down, wrap these old school wraps, get this plaque finished, get the guides done. Now, although this is a heavier offshore saltwater rod, I do build all kinds of rods. Bass rods, fresh saltwater rods, lightweight stuff, trout stuff, fly fishing stuff, you name it, I can build it for you. So give me a holler, give me a message, we'll get it done for you. I will get it done for you. Me, myself, and I. Alright, well, the plaque's wrapped. There it is. Seeker logo's on there, Lifer logo's on there. Now I'm going to go about wrapping the rest of it. Okay, the base wraps for the guides are now wrapped. Now I'm going to tape these guides on here and apply the guide wrap on top. For this wrap in particular, it's the same gray that is on the base wrap. Guides are ground down. Now I can go about my business of wrapping this guide and the other 9 with this exact pattern. And when that's done, I will show you guys the coating process with the 2-part epoxy. Now I'm nearly done with that first wrap there. We're going to throw a loop in it. There's 5 more wraps. What's crazy is that I learned how to wrap rods on the same platform 5 years ago that I am now telling you about it. It's pretty cool. First guide's on there. First wrap at least. Now I can remove this tape. Same process on this side. Same gray color. And after that's done, I have 9 more to go. Then we get to coating. That blue blemish is the spine of the rod that I marked, which will later be wiped off with some acetone. Almost done. Throw a loop in it. Move on to the next. Like I said, if you need a rod made, please contact me. This is a major source of income for me. This, working at 22nd Street Landing, working on and for the Amigo. So if you need me, please contact me. Very easy to find. So there's the plaque. There's the application of the first guide. And we have, of course, the handles from earlier. When I'm done wrapping, I'll show you the coating process. Okay, the rod is completely wrapped. About 2 hours later, it's all wrapped up. Seeker F100, trimmed down to 9.1, 40-pound rod, Tiffany turquoise, gunmetal gray and white. Now I will coat it. Now I can take it off, align these guides, coat it. About 10 cc's of part 1. Finish off here. Take it to 20 cc's total. Part B, the hardener, right about there. Now we mix them. Let them sit by the heater. And I gotta be honest, there's nothing too fancy about my heating process. It's a space heater from Big Lots, scrap piece of wood, a whole bunch of old glue on it, and the cup heating. When it's nice and clear, I'll be able to put it on a rod, just like these other 4. So this is the Alps power wrapping machine that I'm using, and these are custom 3D printed stands that my buddy Kyle Berg and his father made. There's the custom stands. There's the Alps power wrapper. Stuff is clearing up a bit. It's mixing together quite well. And now I can apply it to the rod. Apply it, torch it, even it out, and then it'll be done. And I like to coat with the rod spinning away from me. It's just my technique, it's just the way I do it. I'm sure everybody has their own specific way that works just as well for them. So we're going to go here, keep coating. Those bubbles vanish. And as you can see, a lot of this epoxy starts to drip onto my tracks, which is pretty much inevitable. And I clean it off every couple weeks. Torch it again. We're going to get some drips that we're going to collect in our cup to use obviously on the rest of the rod. Even her out there. Cover all your thread burrs and all your cuts. Technique. This is how I get it done. A little more torch action, a little more thinning and evening out, and then you can move on to the rest of the guides some remaining bubbles that I will buff out with the torch at the last second. Now the trick is to work relatively quickly with the epoxy because it does harden as it cools and the longer you wait. So that would be considered a pot life, is what they call it. And different brands have different pot lives, different viscosities to work with. The brand I'm using is called Crystal Clear, I believe. Something I've used for a couple years, and I like it. Hardens quickly, it doesn't yellow, and these bubbles vanish pretty fast. It's actually kind of therapeutic once you get the hang of it. This process used to freak me out when I first started, and I'd rather enjoy it now. Nice quiet room, clean workspace, passionate artist. I'll get it done for you. Wrapped, coated, and it should be dry, completely dry within, I don't know, 12 to 16 hours. Ready to fish in 24. So, Hyper Customs, Damian Parker Barranco.